Hi, sorry about the delay. The ticketing system has kind of a delay in there, so from here onwards, feel free to reach out to me directly, and I can help you work on things. Having said that, let's get you started, and then we can work via email. Maybe we can Zoom or meet in person, or however it goes. But today, I'm just going to get you started. Hi, I'm Dale. I'm social work, sociology, and communication librarian. First thing is when you're looking for um, specific information where you know that it's post treatment, and you're looking for outcomes after an intervention with a specific population, we can go into the literature in three databases that I'm going to recommend. And you could start out in the library catalog, but that's going to be like off in the weeds and things like that. So I'm going to go to databases, and I have the three databases that I recommend. One is PAIS, which I have already opened up right there. That's public policy. So if you're looking at post-treatment measurements and outcomes, especially with employment, that's probably like a Western model of like working for benefits and that sort of a thing. That often gets programmed into laws related to public health care. So we can dig around in there. Another one is sociological abstracts, which you could go under S, or you could go down to sociology. I'll show you that one. And that one deals with society. So like huge populations that are being worked on are being studied in this one. And then initially, let's start with PsycInfo, which looks at individual psychology. And also this database is the darling of social work folks, because it's evidence-based. I'm going to try and move so I don't keep my light doesn't keep blinking. So in this one, you can ignore this. I get that from my Zotero. In this one, we're looking at psychology for like 100 years or so. So I'd recommend going to advanced search, which will give us some extra fields. And I'm going to start out with something that I've discovered already. I was looking for what is the keyword for somebody graduating out of an intervention and into like the workforce or something like that. So I thought, well, post-intervention, post-treatment, and then I was looking, and I also found post-rehabilitation. You might find some other ones, so I'm just taking a stab at it. We don't know unless we start digging in. And the reason that I put these in quotes is because I want those two keywords to stick together. The reason that I put the or is what's called a Boolean operator, if you're not familiar with those. These databases are not smart. So it's saying, look at post-intervention, and then when you put the or in there, it says, okay, hang on to that pile of post-intervention, then add to the pile post-treatment, and then if there's another or, it keeps on adding to the pile. As an example. Let's see what we get. 21,000. So these words show up in the title or the abstract. It's not a full text search. And what you can automatically do is narrow it down if you want to by adding more keywords, which we'll do in just a minute. But you can also, it's important to see, these go back to early days of psychology. I think World War I is when psychology went into that practical level. But let's come up to like the pandemic. That's handy for narrowing it. So when I saw 21,000, I'd be like, how am I going to go through all that? But there's still 6,000. What we can do every time we add a keyword in another field, whoops, oh Lord. Every time we add a keyword, it narrows it down even further. So do you see the and here? The and is, okay, everything from that pile, out of that pile, it also has to have the word employment or job. I don't know if work would be good. I don't know if career would be good, but let's see. It seems like employment's the big one. Let's just see what that does. So we're still looking from 2020. Um, I think it'll hang on to that, but we're adding employment. So we go from 6,400 down to 75. This might be too narrow because then when, like if we added the name of a population like adolescents, or if we added an intervention, then it might be too thin. So this is where you get to decide. Employment status after entering residential substance abuse, longitudinal study. And you can see there's dissertations in here, so you might want to narrow it down to academic journals. I love that word, youths. You youths. Anyway, let's try these searches in another database. So instead of psychology, let's look at public policy. Public policy in Western governments ties a quantifiable moment like employment to the success of funding for public services. So if you prove that people are, or you quantify, show evidence that people are getting jobs after doing your intervention, you're more likely to be publicly funded, if that makes sense. So let's do that same search. Last 3 years, peer-reviewed articles. This is really narrowing it down. If it gets too narrow, you can back off on the dates. 124. Oh, look at that. Incentivizing. There's a word that doesn't show up in psychology. Fairness perception, consumption behavior, families first, social pensions on migration. So you can see where this is coming from, like the government and policy side of things. This one might be pretty good. But let's look at society as a whole. Let's do that same search in sociological abstracts. Employment. So this is people who are out, the government's part of this, group psychology, cultural studies, all of that shows up in here. And I can do the last 3 years too. And there's going to be overlap between these databases. I love this one because it's kind of like it's a hot mix of everything. Minimum wage. So there's like economists, organizational socialization. I have no idea what that means. So there's a population, social inclusion outcomes for people with disabilities, systematic review. So take a look at these. If you want to dig further for different keywords, you can add them, but you can also go into subject and see what other people are writing about. And some of this is probably going to be like interventions in populations or measurements. So there's population, societal issue, population. I'm trying to see. Oh, effectiveness. That's kind of, I don't know, everyone's going to be talking about effectiveness. Population. So a lot of it's talking about populations. To get a hold of these articles, if you're not familiar with this, the full text shows up for a lot of them. But if you get something that doesn't say full text, but it says get full text, that'll just send you to the library catalog. But if you find an article that you just can't get full text for, just send me the citation and I'll grab it for you. Looks like this one put us right in there. Okay, that's all we're going to start with. Let me know how it goes.